Good morning, all of my Sampler 2 blockers. Welcome to week number 7. This week is Fireside block. As you can see behind me, I do not have mine posted because I haven't had a chance to get mine done. So I will be making mine along with you today. Let's go ahead and get started. And we will start with our measurements for our blocks. Everyone, please bear with me as once again this week I am going solo and I am behind the camera to be able to hopefully zoom in on the block measurements that you are going to need. So bear with me here because I'm getting pretty good at this though. So let's see, we are going to start up here with our background colors first. We always start with our background colors. And you are going to need for block A, 2 at 4 1/4 inch squares. And that is for A. B is 4 at 4 inch squares. C is 4 at 3 1/2 by 6 1/2 inch rectangles. And hold on here, my camera's kind of sticking. Sorry for the jerkiness. Our letter D blocks will be 4 at 3 1/2 inch squares. Our background E is 4 at 2 inch by 3 1/2 inch rectangle. And then F is 4 at 2 inch squares. All right, and bear with me here. We're going to come over here. I'm calling the part in the center, this is our center star. Letter G, you're going to need 1 at 3 1/2 inch square. And H will be 8 at 2 inch squares. And those are going to go together to make your center star. Going around the center star, I'm calling this the center frame. Letter I is 2 at 4 inch squares. And letter J is 4 at 4 at 3 7/8 inch square. And letter K is 8 at 3 1/2 inch squares. And down at the bottom here, the bigger part that looks like, I'm calling it the large flag, that comes off of the center frame. And you're going to need 6 at 4 inch squares. And that is going to be labeled as letter L. So that'll be block L. And of course our our cornerstone piece is letter M. Those are the ones that are going on the corners of every block to be able to go together to make that star that closes in the blocks. And that is letter M. And you need 4 at 2 inch square. And over here is our small, I'm calling this the small ear. Let me zoom out just a little bit there. Our small ear, and that's letter N. You need 2 at 4 1/4 inch square. And this is what we need for week 7, our fireside block. All right, our very first piece that we will be working with, we are going to use our letter D, which is our 4 inch by 3 1/2 inch part of our background. And this is where we go with our letter M. And we will go ahead, take our little pen here, just like we do every week, and we're going to measure these up to mark for your center so that we know where we need to stitch. So we're going to draw our line, okay? And these pieces here then are going to go just like so. on there. So the diagonal will be going from, I'm not sure how to, from, let's just say the top right hand side down to the lower left, so that when we get ready to flip that up, it's going to go up to the point to the upper left corner. Okay, so let's go ahead and get all of those stitched together. And I went ahead, I have mine stitched for 3 of those. All right, when you do get the stitching done here, and you go ahead and get these together to be able to measure these up, and mine have already been measured up, but these are, they should come out to measure 3.5 by 3.5. Anything extra, you need to make sure that you are clipping those off, okay? And I'm going to just set these aside for the moment, and we're going to go ahead and move on. I will, when we do take a break, I'll get the rest of my pieces sewn together to get caught up with you. And now would be a good time if you want to do those first and then turn me back on to follow. That would be great. But I'm going to go ahead and continue. And the next session that we have is letter B, and that's also in the background color. And we are going to take letter L this time. Okay, letter L. And this is what we want to go ahead and put our right sides together. So we're going to put those right on top of each other. And I say this every week, if you have a tone on tone, as I do here, you want to make sure that you have it going the right direction, that you don't have the back side laying up on top when you put your other piece right sides together. That doesn't make it right sides together anymore. So you want to make sure that those are where they need to be. And we are going to go ahead and measure our corner to corner for our diagonal. And here I have mine matching up so that I know that that is going to be squared just the way it needs to be. And this one, hold on just a second. I just thought I'd do this every time. I still need to be able to do that. So I have my diagonal, and I'm going to take my Fons and Porter. I'm going to lay that right on top, just like this, and draw my 1/4 inch on each side. These really are handy little tools here. I'll tell you what, that really does help a lot to be able to have that 1/4 inch. As long as you can follow that, just great. And so here we've got that drawn for our diagonal, and we would then stitch on the outer lines, because the center line is going to be our cut line. So we want to stitch here and then stitch this way here, so that when we open this up, we cut down here, we open those up, and we have 2 pieces. All right, and you're going to need to make, you'll have a total of 8 of these pieces here, but it's only 4 that you will put together, and then after they're cut apart you will have 8, but they will be just like this. Okay, and like I always do, I always press my seams open, and you do whatever you like to do. If you want to put it to the right side, the dark side, however you do it, that's you do you. But these need to measure 3.5 by 3.5 when you are finished. Again, I'm going to set these aside, and I will stitch all of those at one time here to catch up. And we are going to go ahead and move on down to what our next pieces will be. And the next one, you will want your letter L and I, which I've already I kind of went ahead and did all of mine. My L is my center, my large flag piece, I should say, and that is this piece here. And my letter I is part of the center frame. So I went ahead and I did my pieces here. And you're doing the exact same way as you did with this one here. Right sides will go together, and you're going to draw your center line and then your 1/4 inch lines. You're going to stitch down this side and then stitch down the other side, leaving the center to be able to cut that in half. When you cut that in half, then you come up with these little pieces here, which you will have 4 total. You will have 4 of these pieces when you get that all completed, okay? The next session that we have, after we get those put together, so we did our letter M and our letter D, and we did our B and our L, and then we did our L and our I. So these are the ones that we have in our first part here. And then we are going to start to construct these pieces into a corner unit. Okay, so the way this is going to be laid out, let's go ahead and break so everyone can get caught up with that. And when we come back, I will lay this out so that we can see how it is supposed to be laid out and stitched together. So we'll take a break here and work on getting everything caught up. So remember this one here, your first set of M and D need to have 4 of these, and they should measure at the end 3.5 by 3.5. Here, this one here should be B and L, and these would need to also be 3.5 by 3.5. And our next grouping is L and I, and these need to be 3.5 by 3.5. Okay? You are making 4, 8 in this pile, and 4, 4, 8, 4. All right, here we have our 4 corner units laid out and ready to stitch up. So what I want you to do is in your upper left, however it is that you're standing, sitting, whatever you're doing, your upper left piece in each one of these 4 quadrants here, this should be your M and D piece. That's your cornerstone that's going to go into each one of the corners, okay? Along each side, you're going to make, remember we call this the bow tie, you're going to take 2 pieces of the B and L, and they're going to go right alongside of that corner unit there, corner piece I should say, and you're going to create your bow tie effect, all right? And these 2 pieces are going to be the ears off of the large flag that we're creating here. This is this piece here, which is your L and I. You have the piece here that is making your large flag, and this piece is beginning our center frame. So go ahead and lay each one of these out just like that. Okay, so again, we've got our corner piece, our cornerstone piece, which is in every one of our blocks. Then we've got our bow tie piece. We put that right up along the side like that. And then here we attach, of course, this piece is going to be the one that matches to create our large flag. And the opposite side here is the beginning of our center frame. So now, when you have all of those laid out, you're going to take, and you know this, you know what to do. We're going to go ahead, got a piece of thread on that one. We're gonna lay these over just like this, and we're gonna stitch right down the side of each one of those. We're going to press those. We're gonna open them back up, and you will have a seam right down the center part here that you're gonna need to match up, and you're going to flip those. All right, so let's go ahead and work on those, and we'll come back then for the next part. All right, now you should have 4 of these particular blocks here completed with your cornerstone, your large flag, and the beginning of your center frame piece. We're going to set these aside for right now, and we are going to move on to the next unit. And what we need to do next is to take fabric A, which will be your very first background piece, and we are going to draw our diagonal line. Make sure, again, because see, mine is right, we want it on the wrong side, but this is my right side, so I want to flip that over. I got to just make sure, because that white on white can be very, very tricky. You got to make sure that you're watching what you're doing when you have those. And we're lining this up. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line straight down there. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to line this up. And as you can see, I've got my point up against here, followed with this point down here, matching up with my grid line here to make sure that I am where I need to be. And draw my line, because we are going to cut straight across both ways, okay? So I am going to go ahead and cut that in half that way. I'm going to turn my pieces here. Normally I would have just gone ahead and just laid my piece out, but since I'm showing you, I'm going to do it this way. And that gives me my 4 pieces that I need, my 4 triangles. So I'm going to set these aside for the moment. And we're going to do the exact same thing with our piece N. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to draw, match that up, draw our line. I'm starting to get the sniffles here. Sorry about that. And draw a line there. I'm going to turn it. And draw my line. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give that a slice up the old middle. I'll go ahead and leave it the way that I would usually do it and show you that way. If you have a rotating mat, boy, are those great to have. And I'll give you a little hint. If you do not have a rotary mat that rotates, I should say a rotating mat, you have not signed up for our 12 Days of Christmas, you will want to make sure that you're getting your name on that list. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So we just may have something coming up for you. Okay, the next piece we're going to do, so this is our letter A. We cut that into 4 pieces. This is our letter N, and we cut that into 4 pieces. Next, we need our letter J, and this time, I am not going to draw a line. I'm just going to turn it on the wrong side and just give it a slice diagonal. There we go. And we're going to set this aside, okay? And what we are going to do is we are going to make 4, and you need to pay attention. Last week we learned taking the 2 pieces and putting them to where our centerpiece and our diagonal lines were both going the same direction. Remember that? And this week we are learning to take we're going to take our A piece, and I'm going to make the arrow facing me, okay? And then we're going to take take 1 end piece, and you'll want these right sides up, okay? And this time we're going to lay the end piece right down here along that side so that both points are meeting in the center. And then this is where our J piece comes in, right side up, and we're going to lay that long piece right up against that long piece over there, okay? And then we're going to take and we're going to flip this piece on top, and we'll stitch, open up, we're going to press it, and then we're going to open up, and then we'll flip these 2 together. We'll flip that on top of that and do a stitch, so that you're going to have 4 pieces that are going to come out just like this, okay? 4 pieces just like this. And let's do that first, and then we'll come back to do the next one, because you need a total of 8 pieces that are similar to this, except A and N will flop, and they'll be going a totally different direction. So we want to just do this part first so we don't get confused. So again, the first part we're doing, A is at the top, and the point is facing you, and then you're going to take the letter N, and it is going to go match up right along this side here. So it gives you an actual triangle here to where your letter J can butt up against that to make it a complete block. All right, so let's go ahead and stitch 4. We're doing 4 of those, and when you finish those, make sure that they are measuring 3.5 inches. All right, here we have our A, N, and J piece here, okay? And as you see, your A piece is, the arrow is facing you when you're holding it. You should be having it face you, and your letter N is on the opposite side with the point coming to the center to match up with your letter A, causing you to have a complete triangle. And then you take your letter J and flip that on top to stitch down the center there to give you a 3.5 by 3.5 inch block. Please, 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 I cannot stress this enough. This, if you did Sampler 1 and you have not noticed by now, Sampler 2 is all about precision. And if these blocks are not precise, and if you are struggling with those, it's all about your measurements. You need to make sure that you are doing proper measurements. When you do get them stitched together, they need to be at a 1/4 inch. Make sure that you are measuring, that you're set up for a true 1/4 inch, and just make sure that everything is coming out when you do. That's the good thing, and I keep saying that about this book. If you have the book and you're able to follow along, and you see that after you get these pieces put together, it is telling you to now measure, making sure that they are sized up to a certain size, which these happen to be 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And I have had to take a little bit off of all of these. Nothing has not been touched as far as not having to do anything further with it. I have had to trim a little bit, and it could be just a smidge, but that smidge is going to count in this block. So make sure, please make sure that you are sizing up. I have a lot of people that ask how my blocks look so flat. One, that is because I do the starching of the fabrics in the very beginning. And I am a presser. I press after all my stitching. So when I do these two, I take it over, I press it. And it helps too when I'm pressing it open. If you did not follow along with sampler 1 and you saw what I do to the backs of my pieces as I get farther along, I will back my pieces with woven fusible, and it will cover this whole block here. Well, I should say the big block. It'll cover the whole block, covering up all of these pieces so nothing's going to get caught later, and it just gives it a really nice finish, which I will be showing that in this segment of sampler 2. Further down the road here, when we get closer to it, I will show you that method if you did not see it in sampler 1. So let's go ahead and continue on. I am going to push this up here, and now we're going to make the next 4 pieces. Remember, I said we need a total of 8, but we only needed 4 pieces that are going this direction with our A, our N, and our J in this format. Now we need to take our A. Again, we are putting it just like this with the arrow facing us, but this time we are going to take our letter N and put it on the opposite side that we did before. So if we look at this block, this was the first block we did. See, we have letter N on the opposite side now. And then you're going to take and you're going to stitch. Make sure also, I cannot stress this enough, if you want to save yourself a whole lot of heartache, make sure that you are laying your blocks out. That is why they give them alphabetized so that you can pull your blocks. When I say A and N and J, you can pull these blocks and not have to leaf through and try to figure out, okay, well, which one was I supposed to have with what? It makes it so much easier if you have everything in an order for the A, B, C, D, and then you can just take your pieces from those piles, lay them out, and then when you have everything laid out, then go ahead and see about taking this over, flipping it on top, to be able to stitch. Let me grab a pin. And I always pin my pieces because this is going to tell me where I need to stitch. So pin on the side that you need to stitch, so when you go to your machine, then you know that you are definitely needing to stitch down this side here. And again, when I finish that, I take it over, I press. I always press my seams open. So you do it however you usually do it. Bring it over, and then this piece flips on top, and then you stitch right down the center. Then we come back, we measure to make sure that these are 3.5 by 3.5 inches. All right, so let's go ahead and do that second set of our trio here, and then we will be right back. All right, so now we have finished our second set of 4, and I have them laid out right here so that you can see the difference. So my letter N is on the left side in this set of 4, and on the right side here for my second set of 4. Okay, so now the next part is taking our letter C. Okay, so that's a background color. Our letter C, with our letter K. All right, I'm going to take a couple of these here. And what we're going to do is we're making our large goose track just like we have pretty much on all of the blocks. And since I have this black piece and it's so hard to see that purple marking, I am going to use one of my chalk sticks, which is this right here, and be able to do my line so that I can see that. We do have some of these for these darker colors where you cannot see very well. If you're interested in those, stop in and see us, and we can definitely hook you up with some of these chalk pins. Those are really nice. They do just come right out, so you don't have to worry about anything staining or anything like that. And so now we're going to take our right sides together, just like we've done on all the others, and you're going to have to where when you lay them on top, they're going to make an arrow. But we need to do one side, because when we get this side here, when we stitch this down, we're going to come back and we're going to trim this and we're going to press it. And then we're going to come over and lay this out on top. That way when this stitches, it's going to connect to that part when you have pressed it, whether it's pressed open, to the right, to the left, light, dark, whatever. It's going to catch that and close that up. And so here you need to make 4 of these, and then they need to be 3.5 by 6.5 inches. I went ahead, I have these 3 here done, so you can see that's what mine look like. Okay. So go ahead and let's get 4 of these made up so that we can move on to our next step. And we're getting closer to being done. All right, so now we have our 3 pieces that are making up the 1 unit. And on here, I went ahead and did the other 3, but I just wanted to show you to make sure that you have one of the pieces that is going to be your, I'm calling it the small ear, that it is on the left pointing in, and the other is on the right pointing in. And you're going to take and you're going to fold these 2 together. You're going to stitch, and then you're going to press that open, put this on top, and do your stitch across there. And when you do that, you will have your pieces come out that will be like this. And you want to make sure that your measurement is 6.5 by 6.5. Okay, you need 4 of those. So I'm going to set that aside, put that up there. And then we're going to move on to the next section, which is you need your letter H and your letter E. So my H are the points on the star on the center block, and you want to draw your diagonal lines, and your let's see, which one was this? H. That's H-E. So your letter E, which is also in your background, and you're going to make a goose track or an arrow, whatever you want to refer it to, and do it just like we did on on my black and white one here. All right. So we're going to lay one piece on, stitch diagonal. We're going to bring it over. We're going to measure 1/4 inch and trim, and then we're going to press that to where that piece will be up like that. And then we're going to take the next piece, line that up. We're going to stitch that. We're going to bring it over, and we're going to cut 1/4 inch, press that one open so that you will have 4 pieces that are going to be just like this. 4 pieces, okay? And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you this so we can try to stitch this all up together, because I'm running out of time on my my video. So I'm going to try to condense as much as I can to get through everything before we run out of tape here. So the next thing, after we have this piece, this is when we're going to start assembling the unit, okay? And this is what we're working on, is the center star now. Okay, so we are going to take the unit with H and E. So this was my H, this was my E that's in the center there. And we're going to go ahead and put that. I will stitch up the other one here momentarily, but you will see this. I'm going to put this, lay it out, because you always want to make sure that you're laying your pieces out, okay? And then I have my letter G. Okay, we're going to take our letter G and we're going to lay that down in the center. This is the center of our star. And then our little dog ears, or whatever you want to call them, our little points here, are going to come off of the center piece. And then we need letter F. And letter F is also a background piece. And these will lay right on each corner. Okay? So now we want to make sure that we are flipping this and stitch. We will press that open. We'll bring this one, flip that, stitch, press that open. We'll do it on the bottom or the top, or however you're looking at it. We'll do the same here, and then in the center we will have our 2 pieces that we will just flip, stitch, press, flip this one, stitch, and press. And then it's just like we do with everything else. This row will flip on top of the center, we will stitch, and then down here, the bottom or the top, however you're looking at it, will flip to the center, we will stitch, press, and then we will come back as soon as we have our center star completed to get the rest of what we need to do to create our block, okay? Okay, here we go. So now we have all of our pieces. I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to be able to go through and stitch all of these together. But you see how the finished piece looks. And I actually believe that I'm going to change my center piece, because when I went back to look at it on the camera, it really just kind of drowns in here. So I'm going to replace this with something else. But this is, you have your center piece and you have your block then all put together. You've got your corners and then your middle pieces here. And then you're just going to do what you usually do, flip and flip. You're going to stitch them. You're going to flip, stitch, flip, stitch, flip, stitch, flip, stitch, and then it's going to be this row on top of the center, stitch that, and then you're going to, of course, you're going to press. You're going to flip that and stitch. And then we've got our fireside block. It's a gorgeous block, very, very pretty, with a lot of new little techniques in there of being able to cut different directions to come out with a new block. And so give me just a second. I'm going to come around and I'm going to focus the camera, and we'll go ahead and get ready to do our drawing, and I will show you what we need to do for next week. All right, so we have finished block number 7. Next week with our block number 8, let's see what we have. Ooh, believe in magic. Isn't that kind of what it's all about, is Christmas? You believe in magic, you know. Jesus is the reason for the season, right? And so this will be Believe in Magic, block number 8. I will have your sizes and everything on Facebook, and for the newsletter for Monday, and so that you can start getting everything cut and ready for that, for those of you that do not have the book. And I know I said this last week, but I got a lot of things going on, and especially this week, and then coming up with our Candy Cane Lane Holiday Bazaar. Don't forget, hope to see you here. We've got 20 vendors that'll be here with all of their handmade with love. And don't you just want to spread that joy and purchase something for your loved ones? Speaking of loved ones, you're all my loved ones, and I'm going to go ahead and get ready to draw our name for this week's drawing. And it is this beautiful little cup here with, check out our, that is what fall is all about. You've got your nuts, your candy corn, chocolate covered peanuts. Oh my gosh, how can you go wrong? And this is so cute. Hello, gorgeous. It's little gourds, so it's gorgeous. Let's see who that winner's gonna be for that little tumbler with the goodies. And it is gonna be, da-da-da. Whoa, Denise Whiteside. Denise, you are the winner. Hello, gorgeous. We'll see you then. You'll get your 1 yard of free fabric, and come and pick everything up that you got coming to you. So otherwise, until next week, guys, hopefully I will have this over here, and we'll have our new wall up. We've just got so much going on, and I'm really pushing myself, really trying. But the great thing is, at the beginning of the year, we will hopefully have our new room finished, and it'll be a whole new recording, and you won't have the echoing. I hope not have the echoing and all of that going on that you probably hear in this. But like I said, I mean, we're new to this. We're still trying everything out, trying to iron everything out. But until next week, guys, just get those blocks cut out, get them ready. So we'll see you then. All right. Have a great week. Bye-bye.